everyone, and welcome to Flashback Friday, or as I like to call it, Where Are They Now? I started this series a while back. I was the one who invented it. Back in the day, I invented it as Throwback Thursday. Then because of my recording schedule, I moved it to Flashback Friday, and I'm really excited to see so many other YouTubers doing this. I wish this would really catch on. It's nice to do monthly favorites, but then don't you wonder whatever happened to everybody's favorites? The holy grail product, the must-have, and then you never kind of see it again. So in this series, because I've been doing videos long enough, I go to the same month that we're in, so January, and I go back as far as I can. In this case, 4 years back to January 2012. So if you want to have a good little giggle, I will link the original January 2012 monthly favorites somewhere around here and in the description box, and have a watch at that. And now let's fast forward to January 2016 and let's see which products I mentioned from back then are still in use now, and if they're not in use, I'll tell you what I'm using in their place. So I have written out my description box from way back then, and so if you see me looking down, that's what I'm looking at. Let's get to it. So the first thing I talked about was the e.l.f. blush in Fuchsia Fusion, which I am embarrassed to say I still have. This is an obnoxiously bright pink, and there's giant chunks of glitter in it. I don't know what I was thinking. I really don't. I generally like e.l.f. blushes, but this one, chunks of glitter, what? I actually recently used this in November when I did the senior parent dance to do the 80s flashback kind of makeup. So now when I go for a bright pink, which I do occasionally, the one that I prefer is the Clinique Berry Pop. It's much more wearable. It's not as opaque as the e.l.f. It's a more wash of a color on the cheek, so it's much more wearable and just a little more refined than the chunks of glitter in the e.l.f. blush. Next were, I don't know why, I haven't actually watched back the video to know what I was talking about, but I mentioned wet ones. Now, 4 years ago, my kids were, well, Shane was 10, so he's still getting sticky. So I guess that's probably why I mentioned wet ones. My kids are older now, 14 and 17, and closer to 15 and 18 at this point. So, you know, I don't really need to carry wet ones around as much. And I have to say that I don't. I do still carry antibacterial gel in my purse, though. Now, I then talked about the Maybelline Make Me Pink lipstick, which, again, I still have. I really do like the Maybelline lipsticks, and you can see there's not a lot of this one left. But when I reach for a drugstore lipstick these days, more often than not, if I'm looking for that soft pink, my go-to color is the Milani Matte Blissful, which is very similar, but more opaque and much more creamy, and it smells like Jolly Ranchers. So I prefer the Milani these days. Who knows what I'll like 4 years from now? Hope I'm still here in 4 years. Next, I talked about oh my gosh, 4 years later, still can't say it. Bourjois eyeshadow, number 5. I used it as a highlighter. It was a single eyeshadow shade, and I used it as a highlighter. This was long before highlighting was a big thing. Very few department store brands had it. The ones that did were like Dior and Chanel, which was kind of out of my price point back then. There were no drugstore options. Now that is not the case. If I'm going for this subtle highlight that was similar to the Bourjois, I don't have it anymore. It's since dried up and disappeared. I would reach for the Kevyn Aucoin Celestial Powder in Candlelit, or a recent find at the drugstore, which I'm really excited about, is the L'Oreal Infallible Pro Contour Palette, and I have it in the shade Light. I've just talked about this in a video, and this shade right here is a really beautiful highlight and much preferable to using an eyeshadow. It's more finely milled, it goes on nicer. Definitely recommend this product. Then I talk about face powder. I love face powder. I do have dry skin, and I've heard people say, oh, you should never use powder on dry skin, it'll age you. Well, I use powder because I use a light dusting of it because I use it as my last step after foundation and concealer, to give an even canvas to the bronzer and blush so that it doesn't get streaky or stick to any patches. I don't use the NYC one anymore. If I'm going to use a drugstore one, I tend to use my IT Cosmetics CC pressed powder, but if I'm going to use a drugstore one, the one I love the best is the Rimmel Stay Matte, and as you can see, I love it a lot. I've really got a nice big hole going on there. This is in the shade Transparent. There are a few other options as well, but this is a good one. I wish they would redesign the packaging, though. It would be nice to have it in a compact with a mirror, but you can't have everything, and I think it's like $2 or $3, so you know what? For $2 or $3, you get an amazing product. I'll put up with the packaging. The next thing I talked about was the Bare Minerals Concealer in Bisque, and this is, I think, my second or third one of it. By far, it's a specialty. To me, it's a specialty concealer. It's not an everyday thing. I'm not going to open it, but it's powder concealer. You take a dense brush and you pat it on to the area in which you're concealing. Some people use this under their under eyes. My skin is far too old and crepey to do that. But I use this concealer. Okay, we're going to do TMI now. You get a pimple, you pop it. You shouldn't, but you do. And then it dries kind of crusty, like a scab. And regular liquid or cream concealers will not stick to that scab, right? So this is where this comes in. You take your dense brush, you swirl it in the lid of this, and you just cover up that scab. You're good to go. It's kind of gross, but you know what? It's something you need in your arsenal because it happens to the best of us. Then we skip over to, primer. Okay, so I used to love this brand, Derma Minerals. I've since fallen out of love with the brand. It was getting really expensive and really hard to find, and they went through new ownership. It was a whole thing. Anyway, but back then I loved their primer. Unfortunately, I don't know what happened to my skin, but my skin does not love silicone on it, period. So most primers are silicone-based. Doesn't work with my skin. I just break out like crazy. But then this year, I was introduced to the Skindinavia Primer Spray. No silicone in here, and it works as a great primer for me and no breakout. So this is what I use for primer now. I'm kind of hoping some drugstore brands come up on the primer spray concept. Since they've picked up on setting spray, I hope this is not too far behind. But for now, this is the only one that I am aware of. If you know of another liquid type primer, please let me know. I'm really interested to try a few brands out. Next, the Tangle Teaser. I still have mine. I think I got this actually in the UK because, was it Lisa Eldridge or Pixie Woo? All the British YouTubers back then were raving about this Tangle Teaser. This was the only brush you could use to brush your hair while it was wet. And I'm pretty sure that I picked this up in the grocery store across the street from our hotel in Kensington. But I still have it, and it's nice, but it's hard to grip if your hands are wet, which is, if you're using a wet brush, your hands are probably wet. So not too long ago, they came out with the wet brush, and I love, love, love this. Obviously, I prefer the handle. I like the bristles on this better. My hairdresser uses this in a Nevada salon. They all love it. I love it. You can tell I love it. It's dirty. So, and full of my hair. Speaking of hair products, next was the GHD Classic 1-inch Flat Iron. And guess what? It's still a classic and I still love it. If I'm going to straighten my hair, this is what I use. And it's the same one. It's over 4 years old now, I think. And GHD has since come out with an improved version of this, which I am curious about. But since my beloved is still going strong, I am not going out and buying it. If anyone has the platinum one, let me know if it's just that much better than this one, but I love it. And it's gone with me all over the world and held up just fine, so I adore it. Another product that I just used, so I'm a little hesitant to pick it up. Back then, I raved about the Hot Tools 1 1/4 inch curling iron, and as curling irons go, Hot Tools is a great brand, but if you want to bump up a little bit, well, more than a little bit in price, this is the only one I reach for now. It's the okay, it's not really that hot anymore. This is the T3 Body Waver. It's a 1 3/4 inch barrel. It's kind of funky. I think I've talked about this in a few videos. I'm getting ready to do a tutorial showing you a new way that I use it, which was the way that it's intended and how I used it to style my hair now, and that's to fake a blowout. Because this has such a huge barrel, you can roll it and just get those. Anyway, we'll talk about it in the tutorial. But I use this to make just general waves. Because it's big enough, I can use it to straighten a little bit and to make the traditional curls. Love the T3 products. They are more expensive than Hot Tools, but they are really, really good. You are definitely getting what you pay for with that brand. And then, there's only 2 more things left. I talked about an eyeliner. I was obsessed with the brand P2, which you can only get, I think, in Germany, maybe Austria too. It's obviously a German brand. It's a great brand. They still make some of my all-time favorite lipsticks ever. Back then, it was really hard to find a bronze eyeliner, and I still have this. It's still pretty creamy. It's pretty bronze. I thought this was pretty neat back then that it was a metallic eyeliner. Well, we've come a long way in metallic eyeliners. I, since then, picked up the NYX version, which is copper, not bronze, but I'm pretty sure they make a bronzy one. Can you see the light hitting? It's this one here. That's pretty nice. And I'm wearing this today on my lower lash line, the Maybelline Lasting Drama copper one. Woo! Okay, granted, again, not bronze, but look at that shimmer. So we've come a long way, and I'm really excited that American drugstore brands are now carrying metallic eyeliners and making it easy for us to expand our eyeliner collection. And then the last thing I talked about was which one is it? Ah, yes, the Sigma. Okay, way back when Sigma first came out, they numbered their brushes in the identical system to MAC, which got them in big trouble. But that's how I came to learn about Sigma, and I do still use a lot of Sigma brushes. I just don't talk about it as much. So this is the Sigma SS24, or S224, that's it. So, which is the same as, or supposed to be the same as the MAC 224. They have since renumbered this. I can't remember what it is, but I'll put it in the description box. I want to say it's the E40, but just look down there and you'll know. Anyway, this is well loved. I've been using this pretty much almost daily since 4 years ago. It's soft, it's fluffy, but I was always curious to know, is it the same as the MAC 224? And I'm going to tell you right now, no, it is not. It is not, because the Sigma one is better. I've heard this from other people who own the MAC 224. Mine is still more tapered, the MAC, because I just don't use it as much, not because it's a different shape, but the reason I don't use the MAC one as much is because it's scratchy and itchy compared to the Sigma one, which is soft and blends beautifully. So I have the MAC. Once in a while I use it when this one is dirty, but I much prefer the Sigma, and I don't know why I'm playing the drums with my eyeshadow brushes. So that was a look back at my favorites from January 2012. Where are they now? Most of them are still around, but maybe not so much in use. Might be time for me to start cleaning out my makeup collection if I still have makeup that's 4 years old. That's another video. Anyway, if you make YouTube videos and you do monthly favorites, I would love to see this tag picked up. Just be sure to, give me a shout out and let me know what you're up to so that I can see it too. Anyway, it was really fun to take a trip down memory lane with you. As always, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to check the description box for all the links of all the stuff I talked about, plus everything that you can see from here up. And thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye. Hey everyone, welcome to the second best of 2015. I don't know exactly what to call this. I would say it's the best of my random beauty products, so not so much cosmetics, but other